Greetings and salutations, viewers of YouTube. I am your storytelling pal, Big Al, and I'd like to welcome you back to my channel. Please remember to like, comment, subscribe, hit the bell, all that good jazz. Couple of disclaimers. First disclaimer, my stories are kind of sort of true. As best I can remember them, and if I have to fudge a fact or two here or there to make it a funnier story, I'm probably going to. If you recognize yourself or someone you know in one of these stories, if it's yourself, thank you for the memory. If it's someone you know, please tell them I said thank you for the memory. I try to not use last names in my stories to protect privacy. And also, if someone has behaved in an objectionable way that I'm telling the story about, I will change their name to protect privacy. Or if they just want their privacy protected, I'll use a different name. And then the second disclaimer. My grand hope for making these videos, which I'm going to continue to do regardless until either I get bored or I get too busy with other stuff, is that I hope I can have millions of people watch them and laugh. I do recognize, though, as a realist, that not everyone's going to like me. Not everyone's going to like my stories. Not everyone's going to like my face, my voice, my storytelling style, fill in the blank. And some people are just going to come in and try to push political or religious agendas in the comment section. And to all of those, I just say, don't waste your time. I'm just going to delete your comments. I mean, if it's constructive criticism, I'll at least listen to it and consider it. But if you're just coming here for something like that, don't bother. It's going to waste my time and yours, because I'm just going to have to hit the delete button, and then whatever you write is just going to get deleted. So, with that said, for those of you who do enjoy these, let's get into today's story. So today's story concerns some of the Christmas presents I gave back my very first semester of university. And back then, I didn't have great social skills. And, a lot of that is due to the fact that I'm very mildly on the autism spectrum. Fortunately, it's not really bad. It's very mild, what they used to call Asperger's syndrome. And so a lot of times I just don't, really, and especially back then, didn't really pick up on a lot of things. And so I had some people that had been really kind-hearted to me during that first semester. And I decided the perfect gift I could give them, right at the end of the semester, because that's when Christmas time was rolling around, I gave them goldfish. Not like the cracker goldfish, but like a living, organism that is a fish for an aquarium. And one of them I gave to my speech team coach. And unfortunately, when I gave it to her, it happened to be the moment that she ended up, basically telling me that, and a lot of it was just I wasn't putting the work in, but I ended up getting cut from the team, and it turned into this 45-minute long conversation. And so she had put the bag with the fish in it on this shelf that was 2 or 3 shelves higher than her head behind her desk. And so while I'm sitting there having this really awkward conversation about the fact I'm getting cut from the team, I see the fish swimming in the bag, and because it had stayed in the bag so long, it kind of just rolled over and floated to the top of the water in the bag, and I felt so bad. So that didn't go well. And then the other 4 fish were given to fellow students of mine who, because of the nature of the semester and me not thinking about this, was basically giving to them as they were leaving town to go home for Christmas vacation. And so 2 of them were from Louisville, and they had about a 4-hour drive to get from where we went to college to Louisville. And so I found out later that they had tried their best to keep the fish alive for the entire drive. And it was Christy and Ellen, they were actually roommates. And as Christy later told me, they were on their way back home, and they realized that both of the fish had died there, as they're driving. And so Christy's like, so here we were, Al. It was like midnight on Christmas Eve, and here we were in this rest stop bathroom trying to set off the auto flusher to flush these fish you gave us. And it was, Ella and I were both just about ready to strangle you. And so Christy said that they were like dancing around and waving their hands in front of the sensors and everything. And it was just a really, really kind of really bittersweet Christmas Eve memory for them. And then if that wasn't bad enough, the other 2 fish were given to 2 other roommates that I was friends with. One of them was my fencing partner, Elena. And Elena and I had joined the fencing club that semester. And we found out that if you're a beginning fencer and a more experienced fencer does not really want to fence with you, because inexperienced fencers tend to not have a soft touch when they're scoring a point. They tend to really kind of jab the sword into people or into the protective coat you wear. And so me and Elena, being the 2 new people, they basically just had us repeatedly fence each other throughout the semester. And so Elena and I had gotten to be friends that way. And then through her, I met her roommate, Becca. And that was kind of how I got to know Becca. And so I gave them the goldfish. And so Elena and Becca's families were very close. And so Becca was going with Elena to Elena's family home, which Elena's family had grown up in a nearby county. And until she was 13, she lived in that nearby county. But then her parents moved to Russia, 2 years after the Soviet Union had collapsed, to give you kind of a time frame of when this is happening. And so, after a few years in Russia, Elena had returned to the United States, but, that meant that, they were getting on a plane the day after I gave them these fish to go to Petersburg or St. Petersburg, Russia, from Nashville, Tennessee. So, this being pre-9/11 and everything, they got the goldfish, in cups onto the plane. And Elena said that, they fed the fish during the flight, and the fish did make it, they were over the European continent, Elena said, when the fish finally just gave up the ghost. And she said that the flight attendant got on the intercom and told everyone that they had to have a moment of silence for the fish, and it was this big kind of deal. And Elena said that when they first got on the plane, there were businessmen that were sitting kind of a few rows behind them that were making wagers on if the fish were going to survive the trip or not. But in all honesty, it was probably a bit much to expect goldfish to survive a flight that long. So all in all, the gift giving did not go well for me that Christmas. It came from the purest of intentions, but it went completely off the rails, and led to some really kind of funny and awkward moments for the people I gave them to. So Hope y'all enjoyed the story. Podcast shout out for today, which I'm starting to do more of. For those of you who are in the podcast, I will give a kind of a recommendation of a podcast that I enjoy. Today's podcast is called All Bad Things by David and Rachel. So David and Rachel are this couple from North Carolina, and they have they will look into various disasters that have happened, and in a respectful but humorous way, they will talk about the disasters. They will have some playful banter back and forth among themselves. The playful banter is really good to listen to. It's funny. They kind of have a pretty sharp wit, both of them do, and it's a lot of fun to listen to, even though sometimes you're talking about really dark and morbid stuff. I thoroughly enjoy it. I've listened to at least probably 2 or 3 dozen of their episodes and really, really counted it time well spent. So if you have some time and are into the whole podcasting thing, I highly recommend All Bad Things by David and Rachel. And so check that out. And I hope y'all all have a good one. I'm out.